What is up, people? We're here with Collective Tees Clothing, and today we gonna talk.
How you doing?
I'm good, man. It's my pleasure. I always can be appreciative when other brands want to connect and just talk and get to know each other, and we're all kind of on the same journey. So if we can help each other in any way we can, I'm all for it. You know.
Okay, that's what's up. Speaking of, we gonna talk. The brand. Let's talk about that. What is it? What started? How did you come up with we gonna talk?
Okay, it's a few things. So I had kind of been looking for something to replace my income that my job pays me, right? And I couldn't figure it out for the longest time. I would get these ideas, and then I would be like, nah. So my friends and I actually had thank you. We had an inside joke where, whenever we needed to talk about something, we would say, you know, we gonna talk, or can I talk, like that. And I decided to take it and put a positive spin on it rather than a comedic spin. And I talked about it with my wife, and she told me, she's like, that's a great idea because there's a lot of power in that statement. There's a lot of avenues you can go down in that statement. And the reason why I chose clothing was because I had bought a few T-shirts from local brands, and they inspired me because their message I liked. And so I said, you know what? Why can't I do the same thing? Put a brand on a T-shirt and push it. And so those are kind of all the things that came together that lead me to starting this journey on my own clothing brand, or my own brand, I should say, because I don't like to limit it to just clothing, because I feel like you should never limit yourself. You should always keep other avenues open for growth, and this is just a start.
Okay, okay. Sounds good. That's awesome. That's an awesome story. Speaking of your brand and your inspiration behind it, so was it difficult? What were some of the earlier challenges to starting your brand?
Wow. You got time?
You've got all the time in the world. This is your interview. We're here for you.
So I know nothing about business, about clothing, about marketing, about entrepreneurship, mentorship. I knew nothing about that when I started. All I knew was that I wanted to create something for myself, and I wanted to have something that was mine. Right? That's the only thing that was driving me in the beginning. So I learned a lot of things the hard way. If we're being real, I reached out to a lot of people for help, and I didn't get it. And so that was really hard, right? Because you're new to this, and you're like, oh yeah, everybody's gonna help me, and when it doesn't come, you're like, all right, you're really out here on your own. You're really trying to do this, from the ground up. So just research, man, researching garments, researching branding, researching, marketing, researching how to come up with a business plan, a solid business plan. That's where I started. Some of the early struggles that I had was after you kind of tell your friends that you're starting, and your friends and your family are the ones that kind of support you and buy your stuff. And once they stop buying, it's like, okay, what do I do now? Like, how am I going to sell this to a stranger that knows nothing about me, he's never met me? How am I going to afford to keep making stuff? How am I going to manage the money that I'm making? The business side of things. Where am I going to invest it next? Am I going to reinvest it in my business, or am I going to go buy a pair of Nike Air Maxes? You know what I mean? Like, you kind of have to develop that business sense. As to how I got started, I literally started this clothing line with 10 t-shirts, right?
Wow. 10 t-shirts. Well,
10 T-shirts.
did
Yeah.
you sell them all?
No, those were I specifically invested my own money and said these are just for my friends to wear and promote. So it's kind of like, I guess you could say it was kind of like investing in in advertising.
So
Right.
it was early marketing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So after that, the feedback that I got, I took it. I got good feedback. I got feedback about how I could improve it, even design wise, branding wise. And then I came up with a slogan. And our slogan is express yourself, use your voice. And so that's kind of what you need as a brand. You need to have a message, in whatever it is you're trying to say. So came up with the slogan, and then I went back to the drawing board. I was self-teaching myself a lot of stuff, so like Illustrator and Photoshop, and so I was doing a lot of the designs myself. And what's that?
Wait a minute. So, do you have any formal training?
No.
In those?
No, like I said, man, I knew nothing about anything.
So
Yeah.
how does one? And then I want to get back to a couple of things. I took down some notes to get to some questions, specifically to your marketing, and then I want to get into raising capital
Okay.
because you mentioned the first 10 shirts you just gave to family and friends, and you were going to use that as your walking billboards, your advertisement, and what they were required to do was to tell people about it. Now, did you have that conversation with them prior to? Was there a obligation built in, or did you specifically ask them to do that? And what was their response?
So the people that I did give it to were very supportive.
Okay.
I will again say thank you to them, and they really helped me out. All they did was wear it, and they sent me a photo that I could post on social media, and they told people about it. Like, I have friends that live kind of all over, so they told people in their neighborhoods about it, right? So that's kind of how I got the feedback. So people told me, okay, one thing I would suggest is having a slogan, not because I literally just had hashtag We Gon Tawk, right? And they're like, that's great, but you need to have a message of why we're going to talk, right? So that's when I came up with the slogan. Then I hit the drawing board, and I was researching what goes into designing a garment, and what has the potential to sell and what doesn't, right? And so to answer your question about raising capital, I printed X amount of garments after those 10 T-shirts, and then I started to do vendor pop-up sales, which is a real hustle, man. It's a grind. I remember some shows not selling anything. You go there for 8 hours and you just sitting in the hot sun.
Yeah, that's where you have to start investing in some of the. You want to get a tent.
Yeah,
just so you don't burn up outside, and then that turns into you kind of want. Okay, now I need some sounds in here. Or I need some air moving in here.
That's it, right? You start to question a lot of things, but so I remember doing a lot of those, and they go up and they go down. Some of them go really well, and some of them don't. I've done the bigger markets, and like I said, there's a bigger risk, but there's also a bigger reward in doing, when you raise your game, right? So I had 3 really, really good markets that I did really well. And so that's what's kind of propelled me, not kind of actually, it's propelled me to now being able to launch a website and also get into doing sample garments that are the price point's a little higher, right? And that's kind of how I've built up my capital.
Okay, so would
I
you suggest? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's so I just grinded it out,
Okay.
Yeah.
So would you suggest someone starting a T-shirt line or clothing line? Would you suggest that they take that risk and go out and do some of those pop-ups?
So when people ask me this question, I always say I'm gonna tell you what worked for me. It might not work for you.
Okay.
And I've actually done a video about this on my Instagram.
You can slide that in. You can slide that Instagram in there real quick.
We Gon Talk Inc. Make sure you guys follow. Check out our IGTV. That's where I post my videos.
Okay.
So I started to do some mentorship videos and some videos on my experience and how I built my brand, so that people, like I said, could get a more raw, organic feel of how it is for, the average person. But to answer your question, I would say yes, because as a small brand, you don't have any platforms to sell on. You can sell online, but that is, in my opinion, harder, because for someone to buy something, I feel like they need to see it. They need to touch it, they need to try it on, and they need to see you. They need to meet you as the person who's behind the brand.
You have to be your own brand ambassador.
Absolutely, 100%. So I would say yes. If your personality is one where you are fearful or you are scared of taking a risk, I understand. I completely understand that. But I will say you just have to do it. You're never gonna know if you never try, right?
Okay.
So
I agree with you.
yeah.
That's what we ended up doing.
Mhm.
We were similar,
Mhm.
had a conversation, watching some things happen around us, and
Mhm.
it organically happens.
Mhm.
And that leads me to the next question, which is,
Mhm.
is your line, would you consider your line passion, is purposeful,
Uh-huh.
or a purpose that has some passion in it?
That's a really good question. I can answer that from two dimensions, really.
Give them
So,
both. to
so,
me.
so the first one is I really just wanted to replace my income at my job. That's like the main thing I've been trying I've been trying to find something that can do that for me, is to replace my income that my job provides. The other aspect is also always wanted to have something of my own, to have something that was mine, that I can take pride in, and that I could potentially pass to my son, or my my family. I can leave it to them. I'm going to get a little deep here, but I found that I watched a lot of other cultures and the way they make their money, and a lot of them do it independently, right? They have businesses. They might have a laundromat, or they have a convenience store, or they have whatever it is. And I felt like, as black folks, we didn't have that. My parents, I should say, had the mentality of, I don't care what it is you do. Like, if you got to go get a job scrubbing toilets, or you got to go get a job as a janitor, you do that and you save your money. And it doesn't matter if you want to have your own business. You just do whatever, like, you do that crappy job, and that's all you're gonna do.
The pride was in having a job.
A job.
You worked until you could no longer work.
Absolutely.
Short of death.
Absolutely. And you didn't enjoy your life. You that little money you made, you just keep it in the bank. And if you die tomorrow, well, it's in the bank. know?
Hey, but your parents gave you a wonderful upbringing.
Absolutely.
Work until you die.
And I think that's why I'm by nature I'm frugal, right? Because that's what's been taught to me, right? Like, for the longest time, I didn't know how to enjoy my life, because I was always worried about saving everything, and not using some of it to actually invest in myself, and invest in my future, what I wanted.